Welcome, everybody. Let's see, what's 10 o'clock Eastern time? Yeah, about 10 o'clock Eastern time in Eastern time zone. So, anyway, update you on my travels. I was taking my time getting to Atlanta instead of I could have got there today, but I just left up there visiting with my nephew up in Nashville. Then I decided I'm going to go down. I'm going to go down to just south of Chattanooga and check out some place. I want to check this place out. Been wanting to do it for some time, but haven't been able to. But uh, but I've been through Chattanooga so many times through either Interstate 24 or Interstate 75. It cuts through there, and Chattanooga is the worst place to put two interstates connecting that you could possibly imagine. Um, you're coming off some mountainous area and on 24 and some rolling hills and all that, and everything bottlenecks because you're crossing a river a couple of times and you're going. Everything is channeled to one side, so basically, when you get close to the city, about 15 miles out is when it usually happens, and it hasn't. I haven't been disappointed yet in this. Everybody comes to a complete stop, and you coast through from about what is it, 25 miles of travel to get to, or maybe 30 or so, depending on where you're at. About 25 miles of stop, go slow. It kind of reminds me of L.A., but not as bad. The scenery's better. But it was irritating, so I wanted to get past that because man, I just that area just drives me crazy. I never had it ever go right. So that is Chattanooga. Chattanooga is a nice little city and everything. It looks pretty nice. I've been there a few times. My wife and I have been there, and my nephew too. And we've been down here to Atlanta, Georgia, as well. So that's where I'm heading. Going to Atlanta, visit a friend of mine there, and then I'm going to take off to Tampa and continue my journey. Then after that, head on back. And there's some nights I may not even do a video. Okay, just right now I'm just doing some and talking about today and the travels today. So I left. I don't know. It was everything started out great going through 24 south. I was in Smyrna, Tennessee, and so just south of Nashville a little bit on 24. So I didn't have to worry about too much traffic. Well, there's a lot of traffic, but what I mean by that, it's a lot better than it would be otherwise. So I left. It was a little after 10, and decided to come down here to Chattanooga. And I've been to Chattanooga before, and uh, and I always want to go to Lookout Mountain. I've been to Lookout Mountain and stuff. I'm a Civil War buff because I grew up in Virginia, and so I grew up in Virginia. I've been to about every Civil War battlefield in Virginia, as well as metal detecting and digging up stuff and finding shell fragments, mini balls, or a little buck and ball, little team like BB buck and ball. It's like a round musket ball with a little buckshot in it. Big buckshot, real big buckshot. And you can find some of that, or pistol shot. We found some pistol shots. And chains, I found some chains and stuff fired out of um, found out there was a howitzer, Civil War howitzer firing. They ran out of ammunition, so they got railroad chains and spikes and fired them over at the Union soldiers. And I was in that area. I wasn't with a metal detector, just kicking around where somebody just finished plowing the field and they dug all that stuff up. So I picked it up, found out what it was, and I kept it, but the chains are pretty much dilapidated and disintegrated, just too old. The railroad spikes, they're just falling apart. There's iron and rusty. That's a long time ago. So I moved out west. I lost that ability. But every time I went back east, I dragged my wife to a battlefield, Gettysburg, Antietam, or whatever. Those are the ones that we went to. They go, why do you like this? Well, you walk around a lot. Oh, it's so hot. Yeah, it's hot. And there's a lot of, also Manassas battlefield was so close to my house. And I walked about every square inch of that place. Now they opened up new sections to it. Maybe I'll go back there someday. I don't know. And so I wanted to go to Chickamauga battlefield. Also, on my way, I decided, well, Murfreesboro is just 8 miles away or whatever it was. So why don't I just swing over and see the Stones River battlefield while I'm at it? So I went to the Stones River battlefield. And the reason I like to go is that I was involved in computer games and making maps, battlefield maps. And a lot of Civil War computer games, they have their maps. And I always, they did one particular game, did one of them, NASA's battlefield. I'm going, man, they don't even know the terrain. There's undulating hills there. You're walking along, and all of a sudden you go down one steep hill, and you come up another, like a crevasse, and you go up. And that aspect, main part of Manassas battlefield, is not in any map. Um, Basically, you can't do it with the terrain they do, but you could do that. I made maps for computer games, so I know how you can do it. But anyway, so all the maps I've seen of the Civil War ones, even I fiddled around with some of them before to put World War II games on Civil War battlefields and make my maps from that. Anyway, Gettysburg was one I did of the Wheatfield area, Little Round Top. I made computer designed a map from that and put a game on it, did some scenarios for it. Um, Nobody knows that that's Little Round Top, Big Round Top, the Devil's Den in the Wheatfield. All they know is that's probably someplace in Italy, but it was a good little game. And so anyway, so I always like doing that. So I go to Stones River, and I know the battlefield from the maps and studying it. And most of the battlefield is gone because the city of Murfreesboro has overtaken it. And they have one section of the battlefield. I'm trying to get my acclimated. Now, where am I in this battlefield? The visitor center's up there, and oh well, I would say a large segment of the battlefield is gone. And so it was very hard to follow, but I found it. I found the slaughter pin where Sheridan's troops are and stuff. That's pretty well preserved. It's a really neat area. I walked around in the woods and today and got some exercise, and just looking at that, a large part of the battlefield that's really interesting during this flank attack on the right flank of the Union Army, if you know anything about this, is pretty much gone. They got about like just a little, they caught a few glimpses of it, and they got to one certain point where where their Union forces held in check at Stones River, and then that was December 31st. January 1st, they dug in. Both sides dug in, and on the 2nd of January, they attacked. So the January 2nd battlefield is primarily what's there today. So I was a little disappointed. It didn't take hardly any time to go through, and but there's a lot of good trails there. So from there, I decided, well, might as well go down and stop at um, Chickamauga. So I found a hotel in Ringgold. That's where I am now in Ringgold, um, Georgia, Georgia, and and I'm about 5 miles away from the battlefield, close to I-70. So it'll be nothing to get down to Atlanta tomorrow. But anyway, I'll probably leave early. And so I went to Chickamauga, and that's a well preserved battlefield. It's one of those battles that always confused me. And the part they had preserved was one of the major attacks on the flank, and other parts, there was a road closed. It goes across the middle of the battlefield to some of the most interesting areas where they fought, and that road was closed. So I couldn't go to that section of the battlefield. And I really liked it because it was all these hiking trails, and also it's rolling hills, and there's some big hills. And so I came up to what they call Snodgrass Hill. That's what it's called. There's a little cabin up there, and there's a ridge up there, and the Union forces took a last stand there to protect when they got defeated, and Rosecrans, Rose, no, yeah, was it not Rosecrans? It was the other guy, the Rock of Chickamauga. Who was that? No, I can't remember his name, but the Rock of Chickamauga was there. and it's on Snodgrass Hill, and I got up there and I go, wow, that is a hill. I mean, for this area, and it's steep and it's high, and no wonder they couldn't take that thing. And they had so many cannons up there. I would not want to be a Confederate soldier attacking that and the carnage and stuff. So it got me thinking about all this. Is we really do not want to have a civil war. But when you study the effects of the American Civil War and how it built up through the 1840s and 50s and it burst out in the 60s, we know it's about slavery and all that. But most of the Southerners did not own slaves. But and a lot of Northerners were pretty bad about that too. They didn't care one way or another, or they had no problem with it. Actually, truth be known. But England got rid of slavery, and the slave trade would have naturally died anyway without the Civil War because of the human rights over in England going on at the time, and and also getting Egyptian cotton and cotton grown in India to stop the Southerners having a monopoly on cotton. It all would have came out, but they fought and they hated each other. And a lot of the guys, when they went to the war, they had no idea why they were fighting. But the power brokers hated each other and they stirred up each side to a fever pitch. And so I was walking the battlefield today and I was thinking that's probably where we're headed. You got one side who's calling us names, everything under the sun. We got rhinos in Congress who won't do the right thing. They want the Democrats, and I mean they're globalist. And you look at all this and you go, is there any other option other than to fight to the death? Is there? I pray that that would happen, but sometimes I'm getting a little concerned. Down here in this area, everything's fine and it's peaceable, very peaceable. It's a lot of people, and people get on your nerves when they cut you off on the road, like trucks do. Why do trucks have to pass other trucks in front of you and almost run you off the road? I don't know, but that seems to be common down here. But anyway, other than that, uh, in the back country and stuff, the people are real nice and they're just Southerners and meaning no harm. They're just living their lives. They want to live and let live and be left alone, and they don't want the government on their back. They don't want to be told that they're bigots. They don't want to be told this stuff because they're not. They're not racist and all this stuff. They're, and so you got the other left. The left is pushing for war. So as I walk in the battlefield, I'm thinking, if it came push came to shove, would it be like would have modern American battlefields, the fourth Chickamauga or something? I don't think it'll be a battle like that. I think it'll be more of a revolution. And so all the red states and red counties would join together and clobber the urban cities or starve them out, the, the blue areas, like the Front Range of Colorado, to starve them out, blockade them. And I think that would probably solve the problem. But you would have to go in there and dig out these people because you cannot talk to them, you cannot reason to them. And let's see, I watched a video tonight with Alicia Taylor, and it was about how movie actors, method actors, channel their characters, and she had the videos of them admitting to this and how they do that. Basically, they open up themselves to overshadowing possession. A spirit, an entity takes over them, and then it falls off of them afterwards. But but when it got me to think, we're in a position now in our country where people are literally possessed. I mean, if Donald Trump or a conservative, they're not going to listen to you. There was a Fox News I saw. There was this Hispanic gal interviewing these nut job Democrats um, who protesting around that detention center in New Jersey. They broke into illegally and they didn't go through proper channels. And it's like, and they were telling her she better go, she better hide because Trump sees the brown skin, you're going to lock you up. And she just lit into them and pushed it right back in their face. And they did not know how to answer. I'm an American citizen, aren't you? No, no one's going to deport me. I'm not. She didn't go that direction. She threw it back on them, and she goes, "Well, what you're saying to me is very racist. I'm highly offended that you don't like the color of my skin," and thinking that only she just went on, and these liberals had no say when you push back against them, which I know. I learned that in community corrections as well as working with sex offenders. Boom, in your face, and trust me, I can be in your face and be in your grill in a heartbeat. Um, but these people, it seemed like the only way. But then you got done talking to them, they were not convinced. They were like, maybe they grew up smoking some funny stuff, and their brain cells are dead. I don't know. They're just weird, and they can't hear any reason. And so that's what the modern left has done and brainwashed these people to consider that half of America is fascist and needs to be eradicated. So when I'm thinking about the Civil War, looking at the weapons and stuff, yeah, Chickamauga has a great visitor center with a large section in there of small arms. I mean, rifles and pistols and stuff. So I was looking there, and he had the they have guns. Just go down the line, from about World War II all the way down. Bolt action, Springfield 103s, Mauser stuff going down and going up there, late 1800. You see the development of rifles and military weapons and hunting rifles and stuff that they used. Well, they use these Civil War guns and muskets. They go down that frame too. They used to hunt with those, but so whole hunting rifles, I call them. I can't remember. There's also some foreign rifles they had there too. They brought in the Civil War. It goes on back. It was actually a very well preserved, good collection to see if you like that type of thing. And it was nice and air conditioned too. But anyway, and so I was walking around in the Chickamauga battlefield, and it was humid and I'm sweating all up a storm. I didn't mind. So I walked up this place. Oh, it's on my phone. I didn't put the video. So I took a picture of this tower, the Wilder Tower. There's a guy named Wilder. He was with the Union Cavalry section in a regiment that held back the Confederates for a long period of time. So they rallied on this hill, and they held them in check because they used repeating repeating rifles back then, and the Confederates had single shot, just muzzle loader. And so they held their ground, and so they have this built this big commemorative tower. So I walked up, I parked on the wall. I didn't go in the behind where it's easy. I stopped at the bottom of the hill where I walked up, and then I walked up the tower to the very top of this tower. It's a very tall tower, really narrow spiral staircase going up. Got to the top. It was a really good view. I took some pictures up there. That's what I wanted to show you, but I didn't put them on here. And so I thought it was really interesting to see all that stuff. And so this got me thinking about what's going on in the world and how where, where we are going in America. So I'm just talking tonight just because, that's what's on my mind tonight. And I was just thinking about that. I hope it never comes to that, but such as it is, the way the world is, it sure could end up that way. And they're doing some shenanigans over the globalists, the Weffers over there. In Poland, they are going to try to throw out a legitimate election like they did in Romania. We don't know if that will come to pass yet, but it looks like it may. So the people who should be elected to stop this stuff are called the enemy of the people, basically, and you only can vote for is left wing people like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris in your countries are Starmer. So I don't know how the UK elections will come about. Um, they may come up some reason that the Reform Party is evil, and they'll stop them, and you'll have to. So anyway, I was thinking about all that and where we're at. And then you have Trump going overseas over to Saudi Arabia and Qatar, and what did he get, about what, 8 trillion or $13 trillion in business stuff coming into the United States? That's stupendous. And and our Republicans in Congress, uh, the, the rhinos are stopping the progress. Why? They hate America? Yeah. They believe in a new world order. Um, and so basically, what it comes down to, and I'm just going to ramble for a second. If you study the history of the UN, it's a League of Nations, it was founded by theosophists, Alice Bailey, esoteric stuff. And so when I was thinking about it, spiritual warfare now, the best way to determine what we're up against and define it is the Lord God Almighty and His truth versus theosophy. Because theosophy epitomizes the mind of Lucifer, it reveals it perfectly well, and how deceptive is what they're doing. And the United Nations and how it was founded by theosophists and very, very deep into the occult. And they want to blend all these religions into one, make one world religion. It's all about synthesis. And that's why they like totalitarian states. That's why they want what they call it, a purified communism or spiritual communism to rule, mixed with a little fascism, because communism cannot exist without some type of market and selling and producing stuff. Um, and so I think we're getting in a time and days that are going to be very up in the air coming soon. James Comey took a stroll along the beach and found some um, shells in the sand with a certain number code and for a word for what was that? The water bottle just popped. But and he wrote something about how it's time to get rid of Trump, but he didn't use the number for that, and he had number 47. So he is being investigated. Last I heard, they're going to go after him, which is good. So you got people like this, and who hate America, hate what we stand for. We're headed for possibly a civil war or a revolution of some type, where we'll have to defend ourselves. Because if these people get in power again and the rhinos score one them back and they want to crush, we got to crush us. Why? Why do they want to crush the English people? Because they want to teach you right human relations, theosophy, and to have a global mindset as a global citizen, obedient serfs, tracked, tagged, and monitored and controlled, with a big play on eugenics in the background to reduce the world's population to sustainable levels. And it's well documented. And that's and so they got all these mind-numbed idiots out there who don't know the deepness of the Luciferian stuff going on. They wouldn't believe it, I guess, but they're part of it. They're being used as pawns. And I just thinking about that, so theosophy. And some people don't even know who Robert Mueller is anymore. It's not the guy who was nothing to do with Trump at all. Robert Mueller, I'm saying, was uh, part of the UN. He is a theosophist. He's big on that. And one of his last speeches, some guy got up on a harmonica during you can hear it, you can listen to it. And after Mueller gave his spiel, some guy came up and said something, and they start playing "Ode to Joy" on a harmonica. It was weird. It was all theosophical stuff about making world one. And so what Robert Mueller wrote was, I gotta find the article, read some of it to you someday. It was about, he was very blasphemous in it. So he says, in the beginning, God was very happy that man took the first stages to save the planet, something like that. Went through the days of creation, and then at the end of the day, some guy's playing a harmonica. So I was listening to that on as I was driving, going, "Geez, you know, I remember these people, and no one remembers who they are anymore, but they're still there. That's what runs the UN, and they're pushing for this um, new global liberal rules-based world order, and you have to destroy your own citizens in order to get there. You have to literally. They call it the law of sacrifice, or at least that's my term. You see, the ancient pagan gods are the hierarchy, the fallen watchers, self-sacrificed themselves and entered into our world to intermingle with us. Their words, not mine. And it matches Genesis chapter 6, cosmic fire, Alice Bailey wrote about in that. And, and so these fallen watchers sacrifice themselves. So, in order to save the world, you have to sacrifice your country and your people to pay back everything and pay back Gaia, basically, according to Robert Mueller and people at the UN and stuff, and the WEF. You have to pay it back. And so all these leftists are saying, we got to destroy the rich. We got to go after the rich. Well, I like to pop the bubble. It's the wealthy people who are pushing this agenda, using you people as cannon fodder. They're trying to monopolize and control everything through a few corporate businesses. Fascism, they'll have production just enough to keep you happy, barely alive, basically. And that's where we're headed. You can give me your thoughts on that too, if you like. That's what I'm seeing. That's what I'm seeing on this. As I was driving and stuff, and just taking a walk on the in the battlefield and walking on these. There's nobody on the trails. I was walking along, as just in the woods and stuff, and little streams and stuff go by once in a while, and it was neat, peaceful. Could never tell there was a huge battle and a lot of people died, and but the Union was preserved. America survived. I'm not sure if we're going to survive this. I know Donald Trump only has a few, 3.5 years or a little over, close to 4 years left. If he, um, but we'll have to wait and see what happens, and I hope he can pull it off and do a miracle, and people won't punish the Republican Party for doing nothing, and then end up losing the House and the Senate to the Democrats with Trump in office. We are doomed, doomed, doomed. That's their game plan. And so what can I say? There's the 2002, 3, 4, 5 year, whatever it was, the newer Battlestar Galactica came out. And I thought that was an excellent series. It sure portrayed uh, how fickle uh, public opinion is and human beings are. They want to follow somebody, and then all of a sudden they turn on you in this next second. Everybody does. And it's big, and it goes back and forth. I thought it was interesting to capture that real well. That's what I'm seeing here. So anyway, keep the country in prayer, your country in prayer. We'll see how it goes, but you got to remember the Bible does talk about a time in the Book of Revelation where this will all come together, and this one world government will arise, and somebody who's the Antichrist will appear. So we don't know how far that away that is, but it seems awful close. I still feel like the Lord's coming back soon. It'd be nice on this trip. I'll see y'all in heaven. That would be great. You know, drive somewhere and get out of my and talk to somebody about Jesus, and boom, I'm gone. The rapture, you all will be too. It'd be great. But I don't know when. I just feel like things are going to come to a head. And also, we got to do spiritual warfare, continually to expose this stuff. Pray that to be exposed. That people can see the hypocrisy and rebel against it. Thankfully, a lot of young men, younger kids, have, especially the men, and they're coming out of this. They're saying this stuff is Babylonian stuff. What we learned in school is worthless. DEI, whatever, SEL, training and wokeism in the classroom. They're fed up, so a lot of them are returning to Jesus, and they're seeking that out. And the young ladies, by and large, a conservative girl is rare, very rare. The younger ones, as I was told, it seems to be true. Someone did a polling on it, and that's true. I can't remember the percentage. The majority of guys are turning Republican, and a lot of the younger gals in high school and junior high school coming out of that field, liberal, whacked out. They believe this stuff, and man, we're not going to have too many babies to repopulate our country with. Oh, you know, boy, we need outpouring. We need outpouring of God's Spirit. Okay, so I was thinking of doing a little Bible study tonight, but I'm not going to because I'm gonna just sign off shortly here and just go to sleep because I am tired. Begin the day again, and I did bring my guitar with me so I don't lose my fingers. Everything I worked on and my calluses, I'll probably pick a little bit and play that, and then go on to bed. And then if I make it, if I can, I'll do a video tomorrow night, or when I get to Tampa Bay, I'll do one there, and maybe in the daytime before I go to one of the night seminars, things that I'll go to, and I may only be there 2 days. I might be three. I don't know. I don't know. I have to decide, and you know, just depends on what goes on there. No, don't plan for anything particularly happening there, but it's just nice just to get ministered to, listen to some teaching, and see what these conferences are like. I've been to one, and I go to this one and see what this one's like. Some of them are interesting. Some of them, this one seems to be in a good place. Seems to be interesting, so that would be good. Yeah, yeah. So let me know your thoughts. Do you think we're headed for a civil war or anything? I think we'll go back and I'll re-edit the the title of this. Are we headed to a civil war? That's what I should have called this. But yeah, I'm a student of history and studied history all my life. I fell in love with history because I lived in Northern Virginia, and so a lot of historical stuff around. And went to Williamsburg, Jamestown, that area. Learned about this a lot of Revolutionary War stuff, and Thomas Jefferson's in Monticello. It was close by, not too far from our house. I mean, it was about a 2 hour drive or so, but go see that in the day and head home. It was fun to see how people lived back in the ancient times, what we call them ancient times, in 1700s, 1800s. So I always grew up in that, and I liked the Civil War battlefields because I think it was Cub Scouts. Cub Scouts. They took I have a picture or two. It's the only picture I have of pretty much of my past. The rest of my pictures of my past are gone. They've been probably destroyed and everything. But all those pictures, I don't know if they're still around or not. Tried to find them, but I had no idea where they are. But anyway, whatever happened to them? Probably got lost in the moves. My parents moved. But I just want to see, but I found one. I did find some. My mom did give me some. And one was me and Cub Scouts in Manassas battlefield. I think it was the first time I was there. I don't know how old I was. A pretty goofy looking kid. And with my buddies there. And that was a great time. We slept up there. We had tents, and we were somewhere over near the battlefield, and we could didn't take too long to get there. Back in those days, it's a lot different than nowadays. And it probably was private property, and then you could just walk to the battlefield or something. It was a long walk. And then we did another long walk to watch skydivers, military skydivers, jumping in out of planes in these new parachutes or paragliding chutes back in the day when that was all new. And so we watched them glide down. I thought it was cool when they landed and all that. But yeah, that's what I did. That's what I got looking at the Civil War battlefield. So when I got older and got driving, I drove to Manassas and I walked that battlefield. One into another. Two battles fought there. First Manassas, second Manassas. And man, let's hope there's not another Civil War. Then I went to Fredericksburg. Um, Fredericksburg battlefield's pretty much taken over unless you go over to where to the I think it was the right flank of the Confederates where Jackson is. There's some places there still worth seeing, but the wilderness, Chancellorsville, the wilderness, the same area. See the breastworks they put up and stuff. Yeah, that was pretty cool. To walk around the woods looking for stuff. You my nephew, he wanted me to tell him about what happened. What happened? Didn't you have a metal detector and you and your friend were metal detecting in Manassas battlefield? Oh yeah, we didn't. We're just kids. We didn't know anything. We were metal detecting, and I don't know if we were in junior high school. I don't know if we were junior high or if we were in high school. So my friend and I were metal detecting with a cheap metal detector in one of the thickest parts of Manassas battlefield where a lot of the fighting was, in plain view of everybody. We weren't digging anything up. We were just hitting all kinds of strikes, and must have been tons of mini balls in that area, and buttons or whatever. And this park ranger came, and my parents were with me too, so I probably wasn't driving. So yeah, I probably wasn't driving. So I had to be a lot younger before I got my license. And so um, they took the metal detector. They ended up giving it back to us and kind of laughed as this is the wrong kind of metal detector. They scared us. You're not supposed to do that. We didn't know. We had no idea. So I told Lucas, my nephew, that story again. So yeah, the metal detector. So a friend of mine, the same guy, we just learned how to kick around in the dirt and kick up stuff, especially plowed fields. You can find stuff if you know what to look for, and you'll find it. You'll see it. You're not supposed to do that, but when we were young and dumb, we did. Won't tell you which battlefield we were on, but anyway. Also, in some places in Virginia, they have skirmishes, and you can take metal detectors. Some of them are in these. Um, it washes down these walls and creeks, and a lot of the mini balls are in the creeks. So you take your metal detector, a fancy one that goes in the water. You can dig a lot of them out. Perfectly good still. For some reason, the clay or whatever kind of preserves them a little bit better. Interesting, so you go to those places too. Those are fun. I metal detected in some of those areas and found some stuff. So found a pistol shot. We found some old posts in the ground. We're digging around, and so there was target shooting. So they must have put a berm up and had wood posts, and they were target shooting. So we found a lot of pistol shot. Capping, yeah, the little mini ball slug. It looked like a 25 caliber. Then they had you know, some big pistol shot. I mean, it would be like about the size of a 357 Magnums, not the same shape, but it would be like a mini ball. It's a pistol shot. A lot of that shot in those things. So I found quite a bit of that. That was interesting. So I found an old Union encampment. We were trying to go there, and because I think they built houses there and tore all that up, so that's gone. Yeah. Anyway, that's just thinking about all that, being in Civil War country again, going to Atlanta and knowing what happened there, what happened at Franklin, Tennessee. I've been to Franklin battlefield, and oh wow, that's a gruesome place. And where they have a house there. I can't remember. It was a Catton House, I think, or a Canton House, and had a they used it as a hospital. The blood stains are still on the floor, and phew, man, interesting to see all that. But anyway, I mean, if we're at that point where we're getting ready to have a civil war, or have to take back our country, oh, just that'd be awful. It would. But I don't know if there's any alternative, really. So that's something people have to really think about. You're dealing with people who are totally possessed, they're demonized. You got to remember the Democratic Party succeeded from the Union in the 1860s. They were the slaveholding party, and they wanted slavery in the territories of Kansas and Missouri. They had the Missouri Compromise, all that. They're pushing slavery. They were the ones keeping people in the plantation. They took over the civil rights through Johnson's administration, President Johnson's administration, and got rid of their they got rid of their white sheets and pointed hats. And I think it's Mr. Byrd, Senator Byrd. They called him Sheets because he was an ex-Ku Klux Klansman. And that's what the Democrat Party I grew up with. That's who they were. We didn't like them one bit. I grew up in in Northern Virginia, or go to the deep South like I did, South Carolina or wherever, going to Myrtle Beach or wherever we would go. Um, they're a very heavily Democrat area, and if you voted Democrat, you're voting with you're voting against civil rights. But Johnson came up with a war on poverty, and decided you can't join them. Let's just go ahead um, and just act like we are their saviors and we are all for them. And then they co-opted the civil rights movement. That was a Republican thing. And John F. Kennedy wanted to do for civil rights too. He was assassinated. Governor Wallace of Alabama was shot. He wasn't killed, but he was still governor, and he changed his tune after he was shot. And so, yeah, it was a horrible time. But I always remember the Democrats, and they want to keep people in chains. They want to keep people in, depending on them. Yeah, it's amazing. I guess some things don't change. So anyway, just rambling on. Okay, I'll look at some questions or whatever. Then I'm gonna get off here. Get out of here. Go back to live chat before I sign off. Okay, I got Jenny. So Sean's on here. Coming to visit in California. You're kind of north. I'm going to San Diego. So in October, Sean. So I don't know if I can. I'll see. I'll see because I'm going to drop down and go through the southern route. Um, I can't remember what highway I take. Probably cut over to 15 and go 15 south and cut over to whatever interstate I have to connect to go to San Diego. So yeah, That's at the Heaven Encounters Conference, October 2nd through the 5th. And if I do come, I will lay hands on you. Okay. I'm driving the opposite direction. I'm in the East Coast. But yeah. Joy says hello. Hello, Joy. And then Jenny says Kennesaw is really cool. Stone Mountain is fun. I didn't know what Stone Mountain was, and someone asked the realtor down here when my wife was here. We're looking for houses. You should try Stone Mountain. And what is Stone Mountain? So I found out what Stone Mountain was, and it's some Civil War Confederate generals are engraved on it. So it's like, okay, whatever. But I guess there's a neighborhood or so over there too, and it's also they say it's an amusement park or some type of park. I was hoping to go there sometime, maybe go there sometime in the future. I don't think I have time to go there. Oh, poor Ren's having car trouble again, waiting for a tow truck. Wow, sorry to hear that. Lord, get his car fixed. Jesus' name. Is this live? Yes, I'm still alive too. Half alive. I'm pretty tired right now. Okay, your camera is on the way. Yes. My neighbor should be looking for it. I told him about it, so they get it off the porch or however it's going to be delivered. Okay. You should get into biking. You might love it. I don't know. I want to go back to ride motorcycles. I wasn't any good at it. It was um, a little trouble changing the gears with the motorcycle, to tell you the truth. And one time it was a dirt bike. I popped the clutch and I did a wheelie and I kept it up. And everybody says, "Man, you know how to ride a bike." No, really, I popped the clutch too fast. My foot slipped. We're going down one wheel. I don't know how I kept it up, but I wasn't too good at changing gears on the bike with my feet for some reason. Just didn't have that coordination. A bicycle, yeah, I can ride a bicycle. Okay. We need to get these prophetic voices to start teaching this. People are talking about stuff like Antichrist, but who all is teaching the New Age doctrine like you so they know what's coming? Not very many people. And what I find here is this: it hurts. And I confront with a lot of Christians are like this. They don't see, they should just wear pride on their forehead, then look in the mirror as they're saying this. When I tell them that, we need to look at this stuff and warn people about what they're doing so they know how to make a stand against it and say no to it. Pretty simple. And do spiritual warfare. Oh, we don't need to know all that. I just have the name of Jesus and they disobey me. I don't have to do that. All power is given unto the Lord Jesus. He's given me the power to cast out demons. He's given me power to, uh, you know, nothing. I mean, serpents and scorpions and all the works of the enemy, I can rebuke at will. I don't need to know this stuff. I just rebuke it. It's like, well, boy, you're pretty proud. You're very proud, and you don't see it. I don't want to just talk about the occult stuff. You're not. You're trying to warn people of it. Then you teach them how to fight it through spiritual warfare. Good way to teach spiritual warfare. Give them something they can sink their teeth into. Yeah. So I was glad to get on CTN before I came out here. I was on Tuesday. Last Tuesday I was at CTN in Westminster, um, Colorado, and I did a thing on prayer. So they asked me about my testimony, but I knew I was supposed to teach Ezekiel chapter 13, verse 17 and 21. I only had like 5 minutes to do it, and I just, okay, how am I going to tie these two things in? And it worked. It worked. God, I just listened to the Lord, and it worked. So I had to speed teach those verses, And the people in the studio and outside the studio watching it, they were waiting for their spot, told me, man, that I felt something. That something was that whatever you prayed was pretty powerful. I didn't feel nothing. I was trying to get crammed everything in there in a short thing. You got to understand, I've been on TV, been on doing this stuff, and doing spot interviews. You have to be on point, fast, and engaging. I used to be terrible at it. I've gotten better at it. So just to me, I'm a little nervous. That's when I get started, but I just go into it. And then I know what I want to say, but I can't tell everything. I have to make it very short, simple, and to the point. And so that's what I did in that interview. I think when it comes out, I'll let you know. Post it for you to watch. And so yeah, we need to teach people that. When I shared on it just those 5 minutes and warned people about the occult world, how to pray against it, and what, and they were like, they didn't know that Ezekiel 13 verse 17 and 23 were there. They're going to look it up. I said, make sure you do a Bible study, do a word study on it, study it, read some commentaries. It will help you. I didn't know that verse was there. I read Ezekiel before, never even seen it for some reason. Or yeah, I read out of the King James. So the King James really doesn't do a good translation of Ezekiel 36, chapter 36, verses 17 through 23. Pillow prophets and put pillows on your sleeves. And people go, oh, that goes over my mind. They don't have any way to explain it. So, so anyway, yeah, that's probably why I didn't see it. But that's what you got to do, folks. When you're teaching and stuff, you have to be that quick. Get called up, impromptu. You gotta. Yeah, I thank for the mentors I had and people who trained me in before any of this ever happened. I was doing the Bible study in the or the service in the jail when I was in college and stuff in 1988 to 1998. I got hired as sheriff's department before that, but in order to work in the jail, I had to give up the jail ministry. But so people mentored me to teach how to teach, outline all that, attention getters, whatever. And then later, I use a lot of that what I learned to do interviews on TV when it's very fast, how to stay on topic. I'm watching, I know the clock. I can see it in my mind. I can see I don't stare at the clock. It doesn't make me nervous. I just need to know I have 30 seconds and I can cram a lot in 30 seconds. Or a minute is the best. I'd like to have a minute and I can cram a lot in there and plus a prayer too and close it out real fast. It just comes to you once and you also know the material too helps. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and go. I was thinking, maybe if possible, I might do uh, some more teaching on the book of John, just to spice things up a bit. And I'll have to figure out how to type up what do you call it? You got to type it up a description. I didn't really do descriptions. I have to type it on the computer here and send it out. But maybe I'll do that, and I'll do the study on John chapter 2. And it's an incredible chapter because it talks about on John chapter 2, verse 1 through 3, on the third day. Well, you got the number 3 there. What does that mean? How does that apply to there? A lot. And there was a wedding in Cana. Canaan means a blowing reed or the place of reeds. Jesus says that I will not crush a reed, a broken reed. I will not crush a broken reed. So, okay. Then you have Galilee as that wheel, the turning revolution. The mother of Jesus was there. Both Yeshua, salvation, and his disciples were invited to the wedding, and they ran out of wine. And the mother of Jesus said to them, they have no wine. You have no idea what's behind those verses and the depths that are in there. And the commentaries will not do any justice to it. So I did print it out. I mean, my own notes from it. In case I do want to teach it, I can just look at my notes. I can go through it real quick, but I'm not doing it right now. Too tired. I'll tell you what the number 3 means. We have water pots. I think I use the NASB or your ESV. I can't remember, but each of the idea they had 6 water pots. I think 3 of them held 20 gallons, and 3 of them held 30 gallons. They're side by side or something. They're just different sizes of water pots, and they're purified. And so, yeah, 20 means something, and 30 means something. Relates to what Jesus is doing at the wedding, and those number meanings equal 50, which is the year jubilee. It all fits with the wine of the Holy Spirit, the water, all of it. And it'll add into the depths, and it'll lead right into later in the chapter 2 of John, where he goes to the temple and chases people out with a cord and a whip. I think he did it several times in his ministry. As reading commentary, I think it appears that he did it 3 separate occasions. One time you get away with it, you think, well, that's amazing, because they would probably, if you did that or someone else, not Jesus, that you would have been toast by the temple guards and the priest. They would have made you toast. So he did it 3 times, at least 2 to 3 times, chased them out, and they didn't do anything about it. Didn't arrest him. Think about that. That's even more incredible. Anyway, I'll go ahead and go. Let's see, anything else here in chapter 2 of John that strikes my fancy? Oh, yeah. I don't want to start preaching right now. It's a lot of good stuff here. Yeah, the 6 water pots. Yeah. So 20 is the biblical number shaped like a palm of a hand. It means blessing, curse, stop, come, go. Let me give you a hug. That's what what kind of means. It's a number for redemption, paying the redemption price. I think that came from the book of Ruth. The meanings came out of the book of Ruth, about 20. I could be wrong. I'm just trying to do from memory. My notes are at the house. I don't have them here. I thought that was interesting. So it's kaf, a hand, implying redemption. Hand that blesses, redeems, allows, stops, so forth, etc. 30 is the biblical number represented by the Hebrew letter lamet, shaped like a shepherd's staff. It means the shepherd, the good shepherd, the shepherd's staff, the various contexts. It's corralling somebody and moving their heart toward following someone or something or some idea, depending on the context. It also means being made right and redeemed by a blood sacrifice. And also different other meanings out of the scriptures using that number. Dedication, sealing, calling that moves, changes hearts, change your heart. And 50 is the number of Jubilee, freedom from all debt, slavery, and entering a rest. Pentecost, the first fruits. Oh, wow, there's a lot there. A lot there. Anyway, I'll teach on this later. You'll be blown away by it. I'm too tired. I was too tired to teach on it tonight. In fact, I'm still in Colorado time. No wonder I'm tired, because it isn't. It's late. Right now it says 9:09. Right now, I think it's 11:09 on the East Coast here. Oh, I am getting tired. So with that, hope you don't mind me rambling nonsensically. Okay. Um. Okay. Jenny says 4th generation. Oh, arrowheads are so much fun to find, especially in Georgia. There's plenty of them in the South. Yeah. My parents have a farm, and they did in Southwest Virginia, in Pound, Virginia. And my uncle had a garden. I know where the garden is. I worked in it enough. growing up. He dug up arrowheads. There was a camp there somewhere. I never found him. He was able to find him. I could never understand. He's looking around. He can find him. I could never find one. But yeah, magnet fishing in the rivers. Yeah, you never know what you'll find in them. You might find a safe filled with gold, but you can't get it up out of the water with a fishing pole. Um, Laura says, "Good evening." Sean says he was joking. Yeah, no, if I do come out that way, I will come out. I'll lay hands on you one way or another. I'm just kidding. A pedal bike, yeah, I like pedal bikes. I have one. I don't have. I didn't. I should have put it on the back of the car and brought it, but I didn't. I didn't. I sound like that bike rack I have. Driving all that distance makes me nervous. Jenny says the Kennesaw Mountain Battlefield. I might stop by there on my way there. It's on the way. I might just drive over, I think, to the right of the interstate, go see it. We're still waiting for the tow truck. Oh, Lord, help him get a tow quick. Okay, Sean's saying good night. I'm going to be going good night too. TBS is here. TBS, I'm going to be signing off. I am tired. But Laura, we'll see you later, everybody. Again, I just put the screen up there. I usually do this, so when I shut it off, it delays a little bit, so I don't have to sit here and stare and smile. You ever do professional videos? The camera's rolling, you got to sit there and smile. I get this vision in my head when we do it. Radio hosts, I mean, TV people do it. Our show is ended, and all of a sudden, oh, the camera's ended. I'm tired of smiling. You don't want to make a noise. You don't want to, you can depending on the circumstances, but it reminds me of the old police squads. I think they only made 6 of them. That was hilarious with Leslie Nielsen. And at the end of every episode, they froze in place and they play acted like it was and they're still moving. Or um, Leslie Nielsen would be getting a cup of coffee, and his other Drebin would be pouring the coffee, and they smile, and show ends, and the coffee just pouring out of the cup on the ground. So yeah, it was funny. That's what it reminds me of when you're doing TV. Sometimes you sit there and smile and tell it. I hope you have a good editor. But anyway, I better go. Anyway, you guys be blessed. I'm gonna take off. My contact information, email, PayPal, my books are listed there. I'm going to just leave it at that. I'm too tired to do anything else. You guys have a great night and God bless.